to start us off,
Okay.
why don't you introduce yourself with whatever descriptive words you would use to describe yourself to someone who didn't know anything about you?
Well, I'm Alice Kina Diehl. I'm friends with your host here, but we've been friends for. I'm an actor, an advocate, um, and I have a disability. I'm also in the LGBTQIA community. I pretty much advocate for uh, anybody who needs it, basically. That's basically me. And so, yeah, there's lots of different ways that I help out lots of different communities. So I'm sort of just like a trying to be my own disabled voice on particularly online, especially.
Yes. Do you want to share what your disability?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I have cerebral palsy. I was born in 1986. I was supposed to be born in March, and then I was born in December. And so I was like 2.5 pounds. And after my birth, I had a leaky blood vessel in my brain, and that's what caused cerebral palsy. And what is that exactly? It's a brain injury of sorts. Um, it never goes away, it never really worsens, but the symptoms can change over time. I've always needed either the use of a walker or a wheelchair or power chair, depending on where I'm going. Um, yeah, so I was like kind of the first string of kids that went through like the first few years of the ADA being put into place. Um, I was one of the first kids with a physical disability to go through like mainstream schooling and not just purely um, resource classes. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I was in resource classes for math, most definitely. But um, yeah, so it was I guess you could say I was like a trailblazer. That being said, it's not always easy being a trailblazer. Oof. So school is always really rough for me, um, especially when I got to like middle school and high school. Um, but I had found, excuse me, I had found solace in performing because I loved movies. You know, I loved sports. I could have played sports all day, every day, but there was only so far I could go with that because of my disability. And then I really got into I just really took to film, you know, like when the days that I couldn't like do stuff physically, which was often because that's how CP affects you. Like you could, you know, like if you're going to be busy one day, it's going to take us several days to recuperate after that because we use like 3 to 5 times more muscle than the average person to do an everyday task. So I would watch movies a lot when I wasn't like skiing or playing baseball or just being your regular lesbian in the 90s. Um, yeah, so basically, yeah, I got really into film and then I started doing like plays and stuff, and I was super, super into that. And I just kept going. It just kept going, and it was something that I really took to. And it allowed me to kind of carve out a space for myself, um, because no one looked like me. You know, if they did, they weren't really disabled. You know, it was disabled mimicry that we call nowadays. And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of films as a disabled kid that I cherish that are disabled mimicry. Like I didn't have anything else, so I loved those portrayals at the time. But I really wanted to see like the real deal, you know. I really wanted to have the satisfaction. It turns out I just really loved acting, and yeah, I just, as soon as I moved out of high school, I moved to Southern California. And it took a very, very long time. I want to say maybe like 10 years, 10, 11 years for me living in Southern California to really get auditions. So it's kind of crazy. I had all this experience of doing play after play after play. And, you know, I was, I was kind of like a little, not celebrity, but somebody that you would recognize if you saw me on stage. If you lived in my area, it's just a small town. But yeah, it took me a long time. It's taken the community a long time to even think about casting people with disabilities.
When you were on stage, what kinds of roles were you getting?
Thanks. I can ramble, so cut in anytime. Well, my first love was Disney. Anything to do with Disney, because my family has a long history with the Magic Kingdom, and so I was really just into like villains and stuff. I loved to play the villain, and just kind of scary, like because I was always really into Halloween. Was an interesting kiddo. Yeah, so I like to play villains and stuff like that. And then eventually, like right before I graduated high school, I was able to actually play a character in a wheelchair because I had talked to my drama teacher at the time, and I said I've never actually played somebody in a wheelchair. Like I just play whatever you guys give me, but I've never actually played a disabled character.
What was that role?
It was Tell Me That You Love Me, Junie Moon, and it's about, we switched the characters around some of the sexes and stuff like that, but it was about a group of 3 disabled people that were trying to make it, all living together, and it was really cool. Looking back, it was really, really cool, and I could see why certain kids in the class were like, this is weird. And I'm like, well, yeah. So but it's very, I look back on it now and I'm like, there's a lot of truth in this. So
were the other characters that had disabilities, were they played by actors with disabilities?
we did, there was another girl who I loved. Her name's Kayla Bruno. I don't know her married name, but that's how I knew her. She's from Vietnam and her parents adopted her, but she has like a little arm. She's always had one. And anyway, she works for the Biden administration now. She's really, yeah. So she played one of the characters. And I think the only character that didn't, there was just one of them that didn't have a disability. But I thought it was pretty cool that like the 2 cool kids, with the disability were able to actually tell a story.
I know at my school, when, around that same time, like I didn't see any people with disabilities on stage. So for the both of you to do that, that is definitely, you were saying before, being a trailblazer.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I couldn't help, like I was totally transfixed with theater and making art. Like I said, I was super into Disney stuff. I was super into Paul Rubens, just like this weird art nerd, and like dressing up and in costumes. And that's just something that's just kind of always been a part of me. And I think that's because I do have quite the lineage. My great aunt Alice was a sister of a trio, and that trio there were singers, dancers, and actors in the 1920s in England. And I'm named after Alice, who was the first Lady Greystoke on stage in New York, on Broadway in 1921. So basically the real mom of Tarzan that dies in the beginning. That's my namesake. is Alice Greystoke, basically. So, and I've always really attached to that story because it's cool. It's rad, you know.
That's quite the legacy.
Yeah, it is. And women too. Like I was just like, oh my God, the theater, I didn't choose the theater life. The theater life chose me.
It's in
So
your blood.
yeah, so I was really all about it. And then I moved to Southern California and I got a scholarship to go to the Howard Fine Acting Studio. And that was a lot to learn there. A little too strict for me. I like more of like a loosey goosey, playful, relaxing environment, especially if you're doing any sort of emoting, like you want to feel safe.
Yes.
So yeah, and you know, it was really disheartening though when I moved there because like I said, it took a good 10, 11 years for Hollywood to, I mean, slowly implement what is now. I mean, I'm in the trenches, so I feel like it's a lot, but the numbers still don't lie.
What kinds of roles were you going out for at that time?
I wasn't like 10, 11 years ago, you mean?
Yeah, like, so were you throwing your hat in the ring? Like, you're saying you weren't getting the auditions, but were you, I assume you were submitting for things.
Yeah, no, I definitely was. And I had an agent and everything, and it was just, I actually had an agent at the agency that I have now. Um, I really think what turned the tables for us to actually want to even be seen, because I don't think they were open to seeing people with disabilities for anything, if I'm being completely honest. And it was very sparse. Um, but now it's like, you know, you could see something that's there. And I think what really turned the tables was Speechless. That was a huge, big show. And um, it was just so cool to see my whole community, as well as myself, being utilized on a regular basis to do these really cool disability show, you know, that was really popular. And then, you know, it's kind of helped along everybody else in a way, in their own way. Um, yeah, I would say that it is still, you know, sparse somewhat, but I mean, I think in order to be, I don't know, you got to look at success differently, I guess. I think I'm very successful. Does that mean that I get a lot of opportunities? No, not necessarily, but I've had a lot of fun and I feel like I've made art that is for my community and something that I would be proud of because I didn't have that as a kid. So I get to be that person for myself. So, and I
Yeah.
love create. I'll create anytime. I don't need just Hollywood projects or I just love my phone and being goofy in front of it. So I don't know. I just love being creative.
You had mentioned that there were some movies when you were younger that you watched. What was the first time that you felt represented on screen?
Mm, I think it was Forrest Gump. Like um, that. I don't know. Like I said, you know, film really kind of switched on my brain as far as like, oh, this is humanity and this is how we do things. And, you know, like I just became obsessed with like humanity at that point. And, you know, Forrest Gump is one of those films that makes you feel everything. It's the same with E.T., one of my favorites. I remember exactly where I was when I watched it for the first time. It was like everything made sense. It was like my heart switched off, you know, and I wasn't even old enough to know what was happening. It was just like, whoa, I was completely transfixed. Completely transfixed.
You also touched on the aspect of feeling safe on set. When you were working on projects like Speechless, where you were surrounded by people from your own community, what was the environment like being on that set, and maybe, you know, as opposed to maybe some other environments that you've
Oh,
encountered?
the dope question. Because this is dope. Yeah, so when when it started in the beginning, it wasn't, very much. I would get maybe like 1 to 2 background gigs a year, if that. And I just stopped for a really long time because I was we would always kind of be shoved off into a corner, or it would be a massive cattle call. Um, Never accessible, or no, like, I mean, there's been, especially in the beginning, like in the mid aughts, like what we were talking about, like it was not great, really. It wasn't really conducive to a nice artsy space. It was just kind of like, you know, and kind of predatory a little bit. I do remember some memories of that, like, but yeah, not accessible. And then now it's like, they're pretty good. There's still some ignorance, though. um I've had some absolutely fabulous experiences where I felt like I was just like a part of the coolest community in television. um and then there was other times that it was like, oh my god, I'm completely crushed by how I'm being treated. So I've had both ends of the spectrum.
Do they have, like, you said that there were some that were not accessible? Obviously they know you're coming,
Yeah,
so
they're a lot better about that. It used to just be like they would put us off into a corner and, like, but now it's like if somebody's on set, they have somebody push you, and or make sure that, yeah, they don't always make sure that it's accessible. Like my commercial that I shot for a national spot in 2019, it was on the beach.
and I've been to the beach with you.
Yeah, so
And
it was on the,
sometimes the beach only has one, I don't I don't even know what they're called, but with one chair that has the inflatable tires on it, and it can be for, the entire city of Los Angeles. They have one.
yeah, yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. And yeah, I've really done a lot of soul searching since moving to Oregon. And you know um I don't know, there's some crazy stuff that goes on in the world around disability specifically, and I think it's because of certain people's beliefs that you can be cured, or you don't have to use a wheelchair, or you don't have to use a walker. And it's like, well, some people do, and that's okay. Like, it's part of the human experience. So my job is to tell people that it's okay to be disabled and do whatever you want to do. And if you can't do it at the time, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. It's hard to exist with a disability in the world as it is today. So, and a lot more people are becoming disabled now, which is, so I'm just like the elder disabled person, be like, welcome, we
Usher
have
in
cookies.
all the newbies.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not easy, but I don't regret my existence at all. I think I've had a really unique, badass existence. So,
Yeah. What would you consider your best role?
oh well, I kind of like them all. Like, I'm so proud of each one of them. Like, 'cause they represent like different things. Like, with Stephanie Gaskins on 911, that was my first, that it finally happened. What I was not getting for 11 years. And then I finally, like, after getting back into classes and signing with my new agent, which she turned the table, she really did. My agent, who's no longer my agent, she retired. She was a mother of an actor with Down syndrome for years and years and years, and she was also a coach. She really turned the tables. Like, we would maybe get like a few thousand in revenue, and then by the time she left, it was like 3 million, which is a big improvement, obviously.
Yeah, that's quite the jump.
So I think she really turned the tables a lot, which was, and then so when Stephanie happened, I was like, holy majoli. Like, I finally did that, and it was so like fun and everything. The fact that I was rescuing the main hunk of the show, and I knew how to do an emergency tracheotomy, and I'm like a medical professional. That's a big deal.
Yeah, you were the badass that saved the day and saved someone's life by talking Connie Britton
I know.
how to save somebody.
I know. It's not like she has been in anything.
No.
Yeah. No, that whole experience was really cool. I think I was just ready. I think, because because Speechless kind of gave me the confidence to keep going. And then I got For the People, and then I did background work for them, which was a Shonda Rhimes show, and that gave me a lot of confidence. And then boom, I got Stephanie. So it was like it was on a roll. It's been on a roll pretty steadily. But yeah, so Stephanie's amazing, and the fact that like she's still being streamed, and I get like the sweetest notes from you guys all the time, and I don't know, it pays millions to me, in my opinion, and I really hope that there's still people out there that are watching it and going, oh, because that's
Well, it's come
all
full circle. Now others get to see themselves represented in you.
Yeah. And I wasn't really sure if I was like up for that, because like I'm pretty raucous, like with my mouth. I'm a Sagittarius when it comes to like things that I care about. And I always maybe felt like I wasn't good enough, because I think that it's hard, I think it's good to talk about world issues and what's going on. Yeah, I really do. But I kind of had to work on not just this. I kind of had to work on everything in my life, and make sure that I was a good wife and a friend too. And, just keep working on that end as well. Like, that's just as important to me. And I honestly think that like my marriage with Amanda also gave me the confidence to keep going, because they were like, well, why aren't you doing this? And I'm like, I don't know. You're like, well, you should do it. It's like, okay. Like, so I think I'm really proud to be married to Amanda, and that I think that we have brought out the best in each other. And so that's good. I fell in love. I did all these things. Falling in love, I think, is the big secret. Feeling safe, even if it's, with a friend or like whoever, an animal. I think it's good to love, and then there'll be a bunch of great stuff to come out after that.
Yeah, I think love gives us courage.
Definitely. And yeah, like feeling like you belong, yeah, because I mean, when you're different, it could be really intense, especially when you're in school. I don't really encounter it as much as an adult, but when you're a kid, we're all hard on ourselves, and we shouldn't be, because we're all adorable. Like, I've seen pictures of you. You're adorable as a kid. Same with me. But I totally thought that I was ugly and and awkward, and no, not at all.
You were really stinking cute.
Yeah. And so, but I think it's really important to know that like everybody has something to offer. Um, absolutely.
So you brought up your wife, Amanda. I
Yeah,
wanted to talk a little bit about the project that the two of you have been working on for the last couple of years with advocating for medical cannabis. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And
I do. I should have a Rolling Stone hat on. Um,
yeah, like
so yeah,
how did that come about?
so in the middle of like, if I didn't, I was trying to come up with another thing to do with my time in between auditions. And I was looking online on Craigslist. I think I was just like seeing what was out there, and I saw like cannabis personality, and I was like, what is that? And like they kind of like gave a vague description of what that was, and I was like, I bet I could be one of those. So this is like after I had done 911. I think right as I was about to do my national spot. Um, yeah, so people kind of sort of knew who I was, so I was kind of banking off that because I wanted to raise awareness, more awareness, I guess, around disability and social justice issues, LGBTQIA, people of color. Yeah, I just some and a businessman, actually, the Banana Bros. They're a automatic grinder that grinds your cannabis for you, and then it like fills your bowl or your joint. Um, that was the first disability friendly product that I reviewed, because I was like, what if I just find like products that I feel are friendly for the disabled community while they're medicating, which is not a lot. So Banana Bros was really cool because they were like the first ones I found, and they like sent me one right away. I was like, dang. So I shot just a video of um me like doing the review on the auto, and I just sent it back to them, and they were like, well, we want to meet with you. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, we're in Culver City. These dudes are like the coolest dudes you'd ever wish to meet. Really supportive group of men, and they're inventors, and they've invented several different tools. They did the auto grinder, and they've also done like something to do with a hair product. I can't remember, but they're great. And they were saying like, oh, you should get into Instagram. I was like, what's that? And so they're like, well, you kind of like build a community, or it's just kind of like a page for yourself. I was like, well, what do you do on it? And they're like, well, you can start with like videos, like, you could medicate or something, or talk about what are you passionate about. And I was like, well, disabilities, the disability community, anything not Trump, basically. And they're like, yeah, just figure out what you want to do. And then it was like the coolest thing, because it was like suddenly nobody had to tell me that I couldn't do that. And it just opened the floodgates as far as getting my voice out there and getting others out there. Like I, it wasn't just my story with cannabis, because I've been medicating since 2009, and it really saved my life. It really did. And it's also allowed me to continue all my passions, because again, I use 3 to 5 times more energy than the average person to do stuff. And like cannabis is like a perfect like CP buffer. Um, so I'm, obviously really grateful for it, but my wife also has multiple sclerosis. So, and it's really helpful for them. And after I realized that, I was like, I have to do something, because I think that's so cool that like we have two different disabilities, but we're both really helped by it. I wonder if there's more people out there. And then, like I interviewed myself, I interviewed Amanda, I interviewed my friend Toby, and then they were like, oh, we did 3 episodes, so you're on your own. So I was like, okay, like, so, I kept building my Instagram and featuring other people with disabilities online that were helped with cannabis. And yeah, it's really kind of a Riot Girl account in a lot of different ways. I'm really proud of it. And I'm really proud of like Amanda's role as well, because they do such fat bong rips for their nausea every day. And, I, I think it's great that we've tried to at least normalize disability and cannabis and differences. So, because I can do something or say something, and I don't have to wait on anybody.
Yeah, and it also, you're getting to put on, the producer hat, the director hat, the interviewer,
Mm.
and so you're getting all of these various aspects of entertainment, which you love doing. So
Yeah. And I've always been like really like self-taught. Like, um, I get coaches and stuff, but like I don't stop creating. Like, just something I got to do. Like, it's just something in me. Um, but yeah, like I like to, one of these days, man, I'm just gonna reel in what I've been trying to reel in this whole time. And uh yeah, I really would love to be a voiceover artist. I just grew up with Robin Williams, and he was just the most magical person in the world to me. And I never thought that anybody could like touch the guy. But like, you know, I'm just such a big fan. So that's kind of my big goal, I think, is to really get into voiceover work.
and that's something that you can do from anywhere as well. I know people that do it in their bathroom, their closet. You can, now with being able to set up a camera yourself, and
Yeah.
it's, you know, you can do the same with setting up mics and all that stuff at
Yeah.
home. It's a lot
Parents.
easier than, you don't necessarily have to go like to a professional place and be in a booth. You can
No.
create the booth yourself.
Yeah, I really, really like that. Because there's still, like I said, there's still, I love being on set and I love preparing for each role. Um, uh, but I mean, like I said, there could be a picadillo with accessibility. Um, and now with the whole thing with COVID, I'm just like, eh. So, I had, I'd always thought about voiceover because again, I was a Disney kid, so like that attracted me, but I don't think I had the confidence to kind of go, okay, well, what does that mean, and what are the steps I have to take to do that? It wasn't until I got cast for Strange World, and it was just a call. They had sent my or um they had sent my reel to them, and I didn't even audition. They offered it to me. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? They That's never happened. Like, what do you mean? So I really didn't know anything when I was stepping into that booth for the first time. I didn't I didn't really know what to do. And then after that, I was like, well, you're gonna know for next time. And I got a coach, and I'm definitely definitely excited to do more. um yeah, I just kind of, I think that's my biggest advice, is if you're trying to do like trying to keep going in the entertainment business, whatever facet it is, just keep going, even if you feel like you're the only one that's looking at your stuff. you know um just keep putting your voice out there and just keep creating, because you know, the Hollywood system can be really stressful. And I don't think that's how we should measure all great creatives, you know? So,
And you never know when that call is going to come. One of my friends who is an actress in Australia, her agent told her basically something along the lines of always be honing your craft and always be ready, because you don't know when that role that you're perfect for is going to pop up. So
yeah,
you're
that's I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's definitely something that I mean, my agents now are, it's through the same agency, and my previous agent trained them. So they're a really cool bunch of ladies. Um, but yeah, that was one thing. It was like, train. And I went to, like I said, I went to Howard Fine. I liked it. I did learn the fundamentals of how to prepare for a character. And I'm happy about that, because still use those fundamentals. But it wasn't until I found an acting coach. His name is Will Wallace, and he's from Texas. And he's just like, he's a really good actor that's been in a lot of things.
and he's
Um,
Braveheart's name.
yeah,
William
yeah.
Wallace. That's
No,
Braveheart.
really, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, and so he's this director, and he has students all over the country, and like he has the most relaxed atmosphere to do art. Like, it was, like at the previous place, like we would get fined if our phone rang, and we had to be like super, super quiet. And like you could just go about your day while somebody was performing a scene. Nobody said anything. They were just like, whatever. But I don't know. It just felt like a family. And I've been studying with them for like 18 years. And I just study with them off and on. If I feel like I really need it for an audition that I'm doing. Um, but now I'm just kind of like filming myself and doing different scenes. Um, and that's been really fun and freeing, because, like, again, nobody can tell me no. So I'm just basically putting myself into my favorite roles that I grew up with. And I started doing that at the beginning of the strike, because I was like, geez, I'm probably going to be out of work for a good while. So,
You posted recently online that you have turned down several things lately.
yeah, yeah, I had, because they there was one with an accent. I wasn't too strong about on the accent itself. Normally I'm pretty good with a lot of different voice variations and accents, but not this particular one. Um, and then one, they needed ASL. They needed an actress that knew ASL, and I did, but not anymore. So I was kind of really bummed about that one, because it was like a really cool story. Um, what was the other reason? Oh, I didn't have my passport. That was a bummer. So I need to get my passport. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh yeah. So
So
this was this for something in Canada, or
yeah, I can't say what it was, but
that's fine.
um yeah, I think my agents definitely know my worth. They just know that like my opportunities are different nowadays, because I live in Oregon.
Right.
So they're like, oh, your opportunities are gonna be limited, but we'll send you out for the bigger stuff because they have more money. And I'm like, you should have been doing that anyways. So with that said, the
Oh, your
opportunities
worth.
that with that said, the auditions I've gotten since I've moved to Oregon are really cool. And with bigger names. And so
Great.
it's I have just as much fun doing an audition, and like, I don't know, I love to act. And anytime I get an opportunity to just express myself is a good day, even if I don't get the role, which you usually don't. That's how acting works professionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's something that you wish people knew about being someone with a disability navigating the entertainment industry?
Um, Definitely do your research on an agent, somebody that's gonna go to bat for you, and study with someone that you're comfortable with, somebody that, I mean, acting is expensive. So, and people with disabilities typically don't have a lot of money. Um, so it's kind of finding that the good peeps that are just like willing to be like, yeah, I can do a headshot session for $100 for 30 minutes, or um, acting classes, like even with Will, like he only charges me like half the amount. So I think it's just finding the people that are worth their salt, and just keep creating. Like don't stop, just have fun. And I don't know. I I just think it's such a blast to be able to create, and I just happen to be disabled, you know. Um People with disabilities are just incredible. Like I think that's just really it. Like I want people to really witness our community, because we're all just really like, I don't know. It's great to be around a lot of people with disabilities, because we're just, we're adapters, and we're hilarious because we've had to be funny, and um yeah, we're queer, and we're completely intersectional disability, because it's the only subgroup that's going to affect everyone. So we got everybody, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Anything else? Yeah, basically, it's okay to be disabled. It's part of the normal human experience. So if you have a family member, or like a kid with a disability, it's okay. It's not going to be easy. But I mean, it could be a lot easier than what I experienced 30 years ago as a young kid. And I'm really thankful that my mom was such a champion for me to just be a kid and go for it, and and give me all those opportunities. Be supportive, and realize that you can't pray it away. You can't wish it away. So this is it, and there's plenty of good stuff that can happen to disabled people. All you have to do is just give us a chance. That's it.
Well said.
Call 911.
We already did.
Call him again. Put him on speaker.
911, what's your emergency?
It's emergency dispatcher Abby Clark, Parker Center. I'm not on site. I need to speak to Stephanie Gaskins in emergency medical dispatch.
This is EMD Gaskins.
Steph, it's Abby.
Abby?
I've got an adult male, fully obstructed air pipe.
Compressions?
Yes, but he's unconscious. I can't remove the object. He stopped breathing 2 minutes ago. Another 3 minutes. He's gonna have brain damage. I need you to walk me through an emergency tracheotomy.
Abby, have you lost your mind?
Come on. You know the paramedics are gonna be at least 7 minutes. I can't let this happen. I've got to do something.
You got a knife, something sharp. You're going to need something to keep the airway open, like a pen or a straw.
A knife and a pen or a straw or something. Okay. Oh, thanks.
Find the indentation between his Adam's apple and the cricoid cartilage.
Okay. Yep. Okay, I think I found it.
You're going to make a horizontal incision, a 1/2 inch wide and about 1/2 inch deep.
Oh my God. Oh God. Oh God, okay.
There shouldn't be a lot of blood, but try to keep it from leaking into his windpipe.
Okay, I did it.
Okay, stick your finger in, open it up.
Oh God. Oh my God. Okay.
Get the pin in there. 2 quick breaths. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2. Another quick breath. breath.